What's up, y'all? So, like I said earlier, we're gonna talk about conditioning and working out your dog, exercise, etc. Give me a chance. I'm only in here because I want to go ahead and get this shared out, which I was unable to do before. And why is this playing? So, give me a second and let me get this shared out. And then I'm gonna head outside, and we're gonna go ahead and discuss. And I'm gonna show you how to go about. Hold on. Hey, cut it out. She already has an idea that I'm about to use this flirt pole, so she's acting crazy. Cut it out. Calm down. So we're gonna get into it. Flirt pole, fetch, the spring pull. I'm going to show you guys it, give you the concept. We're going to discuss the difference between exercise and conditioning, what to be aware of. Cardi, cut it out. I'll be out there in a second. She's rambunctious right now because she knows I'm coming out there. Joe, what's up, dude? What's going on with you, dude? Um, so let me share this out real quick. Damn, I think I'm on my personal page. Yeah, I am. So that's cool though. So hold on just a moment. Cardi, cut it out. Give me just a second to share this out, y'all, and I'll be right with you. Come on. And what are we looking at? Oh, I thought the music was hard. Turn that off. Let me see. This share. Hold up, Floyd. You're gonna stay inside on this one. All right, there we go. Shared into the group. So let's go ahead and do this. EC. Cardi, cut it out. So here's the thing when it comes to, first off, when it comes to exercising your dog, what is it? Why did I log out of that? Let me see here. Cardi, steady, cut it out. When it comes to exercising your dog, walking your dog, exercise is from start to the point that the dog is drooling. You're going to get clear drool. That's all exercise. Um, Once you get clear drool, now you are starting to get into conditioning. When that drool becomes foamy, that's when you know you want to stop because that means the dog is overheating. It's not getting enough oxygen in its system, and that's when you'll notice foamy drool. That's when you want to rest and let the dog recover. If you can't hear me, let me know. Joe said, chilling, drinking coffee, about to start my day. Exactly. But so remember that for those who are inexperienced and want to get into working out their dogs, exercising your dog, um, panting is all exercise. The minute that you start seeing drool, you are now moving into a conditioning phase. That drool is going to be clear, and the body's doing that to help the dog cool off. When that drool is no longer clear, and it's actually you're starting to see bubbles, you're seeing foam. That's because the dog is starting to slowly overheat. At that point, you want to stop. And average dog needs about 5 to 10 minutes to recover. If the dog's in shape, you're looking at 3 to 5. Anything beyond that, if it's not fully in shape, but the average dog's gonna be I'd say 5 to 8 minutes. But you are looking at about 5 to 10 minutes, especially for a lot of these bullies, the way they're built with these heavy bodies, short limbs, things like that. But that's once you actually hit that overheating phase. So make sure that you think about that and pay attention to that so that you don't find yourself or your dog in trouble. When it comes to the exercises we do with our dogs, whether people want to admit it or not, it is all based off of, hold on, girl, we're going to get to you. It is all based off of, she is so excited right now because she saw her spring pole. Uh, but when it comes to exercising your dog, everything we do with our dog is based off of their prey drive or based off of fighting. So when it comes to, like I explained earlier, the spring pole, we just have a simple one. Hangs from here. I use a bite pad. You can see it. You're not doing this right now. I'll let you do it later. But this is our setup. Simple. Nothing fancy. The reason I use a bite pad is because it makes her work on her bite a lot more. Um, and then you just want to make sure that there's bungee. So even if you have a rope, don't tie a rope to something that's stiff because you're going to end up messing up. What's up, Dre? Thanks for joining in. Don't tie a rope to something that's stiff. A lot of times, if you pay attention, people who do tie a rope to a tree branch, that's fine because that tree branch flexes. What you don't want to do, like I would never, if you look at this beam, I would never tie a rope to this and have them hanging from it because you're going to injure their back. There's no suspension. So I like these bungee cords right here that you can see attached to it. Um, and don't you jump on me, girl. And I also have the spring attached to it so that you can see that. And that way, that between that and the bungee cord, these dogs have been on. We've been doing this for 10 years here, over 10 years off this same little system. So you don't need anything fancy. Just be creative. But what is the spring pole? Like I explained earlier, what is the spring pole simulating? Simulating the dog taking down large game or humans. And that is why with these spring pole, and especially these bullies, don't get caught up with their legs being off the ground. Keep their back legs on the ground, front legs up. That should be the height of your spring pole. That way you're not injuring the dog. These dogs are heavy. They are not built and like pits. They don't have the same jaw to body size ratio that pits do, where a pit can hang and they're good. I'll get in just a second. Hold on. So don't get caught up. You want their back legs to be on the ground. Most mastiffs that work the spring pole to enhance their ability for taking down humans, their back legs are on the ground. Most dogs' back legs are on the ground when they're in wolves, lions. Most time they go after a large animal. The objective is to get their back legs on the ground as soon as possible. So when you're working your spring pole, make sure the back legs are on the ground. With the flirt pole, you're simulating chasing medium prey. A lot of times I see people doing it smaller, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But it's no different than like my son, he does MMA, so this bag is 50 pounds. All he does is work his jab with that. Then we have a speed bag. Speed bag is just for your conditioning and your timing and getting your speed. It's all the same. And then we got this long bag right here that he can practice his kicks on and things like that. So that's what it's all about. And that's what you're doing when you're exercising your dog. But again, remember, conditioning and exercise are two different things. Conditioning doesn't start until the dog is already tired. So exercise is when the dog is panting. Like she's panting now, but that's just off her being anxious because she knows I'm about to do the spring or the flirt pole with her. That's exercise when the dog is panting. When the dog starts to drool, that is when you are moving into a conditioning phase, and that drool is there to help that dog. The panting and the drool is to help the dog cool off. When that drool becomes foamy, that's when you want to stop. And the more, because now the dog's not getting in enough oxygen for what it's doing. With these bullies, you're going to notice that comes quick. The more you work the dog, the longer they'll go panting without drooling. The more you work out the dog, the longer they'll go begin drooling with clear drool rather than foamy drool. So this is you just want to keep an eye on it so that you don't overheat your dog. So let me show you guys how I deal with the spring pole. And I'm not sure which one of these containers. All right, there's the bite pads. When you are working your, I haven't been here in a minute. Never use anybody that likes to hunt at night with spotlights. Don't use these right here. This thing goes dead quick, and I have been just get a regular battery spotlight. I have been stuck in the middle of the woods in the dark for a long time. Any of you guys that are into predator hunting, this right here, I could throw it together in a little bit. This right here is dope though. You take this, put that out in the middle of a field, you turn it on, and it spins this around. And what it does is it simulates an injured animal. And then especially you get your coyote collar going now. I stopped using the electric collar and started using this right here. I'm pretty good with this shit. But I can call in a coyote, raccoon, bobcat, any type of predator. bear. I can call it in with this collar right here. And then once they come in, that's when I used to let my dogs go, and they handle it from there. But where are we? But that coyote, the little this bait thing right here is dope because you turn this on, like I said, and it looks like it's made of. It looks like a fur animal, as you can see, but it just starts flopping around in the middle of the field, and you'll see even coyotes just come flying at it, and they'll hit it hard. And that's when I would let the dogs go. Let's see, Sadie. All right. I'm not gonna bring everything out because I don't want her acting nutty. But as you can see, this is what I work with my dogs. This ball, I prefer this smaller one. These chuck it balls are great because they bounce. So let's say for those people who do switch this back around. For those people who love playing fetch with their dog, a lot of times we get caught up playing fetch and we are throwing the ball back and forth straight. Start bouncing that ball off walls. So that the dog can't anticipate. It's not the same game the whole time. Bounce it off the ground. When you bounce that ball straight off the ground and hits the ground, goes up, you're causing your dog to go down and squat up. Throw it straight in the air, let it come, so that the dog is working on his back, on his rear, anticipating the ball to come down. There's a lot of ways you can really work and build your dog playing fetch, and a lot of times we just get caught up throwing the ball straight, letting the dog bring it back. When it comes to the flirt pole, this is our dog's favorite toy to chase with the flirt pole, all of our dogs. And so I'm going to explain to you, well, this right here. So I'm going to explain to you why. I keep track of that, and I'm going to explain to you why I also use a wiffle ball. But we're going to start with the pole. I have two poles. One is a 5-foot pole that I made, and I make them all the same way. Calm down, girl. So this is, as you can see, I have a 10-foot pole, and then I have a 5-foot pole. 5-foot poles are for puppies. Okay, they are for puppies. That 10-foot pole is they're for puppies and small dogs. Even a small dog, I wouldn't use a 5-foot pole on. But for me, a 5-foot pole is for puppies. If you're going to really work a flirt pole correctly, then you want a 10-foot pole so that you can simulate a cat meal. And again, flirt pole is not for flipping and whipping it all around like you see people doing. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. I start the flirt pole off with the wiffle ball. And because the wiffle ball is a little harder to get for the dog, it's lighter, so you kind of have a little more control. You get a last second chance to keep it from the dog. Once the dog starts to tire out, I switch from the wiffle ball and I switch to what I know they like the best. So here is, hey, let that go, you biscuit head. Sit this on the fence so she's not acting a fool. All right, so as you see, leave that alone. I think I should have prepared for this before doing it. As you see, I have a 10-foot PVC pipe. Okay, so the front, and all I did was took a string. It goes through the pipe, and then I have it attached to one of these bungee cords like this, and a string is tied to it, as you can see. The reason I like these is because this ball at the end of it stops it from going through the cord. And then this gives me the ability to have last second play when I want to pull it shorter, let it loose, and let it go longer, and I'll show that in a second. I tie this on the end of it so that I can switch lures. And all this is you just click it. Hey, how you doing? And as you can see, you just click it, and then I can switch lures. So first I'll put the wiffle ball on it, start with the wiffle ball, which is of course more boring for the dog. Once the wiffle ball has been done, once I see them tiring out with the wiffle ball, I don't give them a second to rest, okay? What I do is I switch it automatically, so that's there maybe 30 seconds, however long it takes for me to switch it. I switch it from the wiffle ball, and then I switch it to their favorite chew toy, which is this right here. And as you can see, I have, hold on, there we go. Hold on, Cardi, I know. As you can see, this is what they love to chase the most. So The end result in the flirt pole is to get the dog to chase it without using anything. And I'm going to show you that also. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and, since she's going crazy, I'm going to show you guys how we work it. And let me get this on here. Hold on, there we go. And come on, get in there. There we go. All right. So now it's on. Okay. And now, as you can see, she's on. So the thing that you have to understand when it comes to this, oh, there's dust on my phone, is one, hey, let it go. Let it go. So the thing that you got a good girl letting it go. Good job. All right. She wasn't supposed to get it. The thing that you got to understand is one, if your dog is right foot or left foot, a right foot dog, when working the flirt pole correctly, you go counterclockwise, that dog will try to make loops and follow the lure. The a left-footed dog, when you go a right-footed dog, when you go clockwise, is going to run in a loop, and that's what you want him to do. You want to simulate the cat meal that you hear those old pit bull fighters talking about. A left-footed dog, when you go clockwise, is going to try to cut it off because it's not as comfortable using its right foot as its pivot foot. Hey, how you doing? So the objective is, so you guys that are whipping these little 5-foot poles back and forth and flapping it all around, it's not how it's done. And that's not working your dog in the manner that you really could be taking it to. So what we try to do is, what you want to try to do is get the dog to run in a loop, in a straight circle. When you go counterclockwise on a right-footed dog, then you're going to notice that that dog tries to cut it off more. And that's where you'll get your angles and build your agility. Hey, what's up, Christine? Thanks for joining in. So miss you guys too. We're probably going to be up there in about a month or two because Cardi should be going in the heat and we'll be back up there. But you guys want to pay attention to that. Now, how do you know if your dog is right foot or left foot? Watch them. When they're laying down, they're sitting down, they're getting ready to step. Whichever foot they tend to step with first the most or all the time, that's what foot they prefer. So when you're working that dog or you're working out that dog and you're using the flirt pole and you're going in a circle, Tony Ghost said, what about if you have a bow-footed dog? Your chances of you having that aren't going to be. But if you do have a dog that doesn't have a preference, that's even better because then you can just do the full circle. And then if you want to do the whole flipping and flopping that you see people doing with the flirt pole for agility, then you can go ahead and do that. I would prefer to have a dog that has no preference because then they'll just go in a circle. Floyd is right-footed, but he's going to run a full circle no matter what direction I'm going, clockwise or counterclockwise. So, but most dogs are gonna be, they're gonna have a foot preference, and whatever, if they're right foot, they prefer to pivot off their right foot. Therefore, they'll run in a full circle when you're going clockwise. If you go counterclockwise, you're gonna calm down, girl. You're gonna cause them to hit angles and try to cut it off, and it starts immediately. So the first thing that you want to do, again, 10-foot flirt pole. No more buying 5-foot flirt poles are for puppies and looks. That's all that's for. Get you a 10-foot flirt pole so you can imitate a cat meal, and that's what it's all about. So I'm going to show you. The end result is for you to start with the wiffle ball because the wiffle ball is boring and it's a little easier for you to control. So you're using that to tire the dog out. Then switch to their favorite toy that they love biting. Get out that bush, girl, that they love to bite on. Now you're going to bring that dog's energy back up. So I'm going to start at the middle phase, which is her favorite toy. The end thing is to get that dog to run with no lure at all. And that's when you build the purpose drive in that dog so that it understands that this ain't just about chasing the lure. This is about what my owner wants me to do. And I'll show that last. So let me see if I can switch this around. That's not it. Bam. All right. All right, girl, don't embarrass me. Let's see. Think that should catch it. Come on. Let's go. And all you're doing is going in a circle. And try to keep it at head length, but in front of the dog. Now, she got it. When they get it, you want to get them to release it. She's very stubborn when she chases something and has to release it. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Good girl. That's a good girl. Now, my male will let it go as soon as he catches it. You don't even have to stop. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. Chase it. There it goes. Now, if you watch when I switch and I go counterclockwise, she's going to try to cut it off. Woo, nice girl. Come on. And the reason she's trying to cut it off is because it's not as comfortable pivoting. And you still, even though it's shorter runs, you still want to do it. Try to slow it down to get her to chase it counterclockwise. But most dogs aren't going to do it. Now, as soon as I go back clockwise, she's going to chase it in circles. All your dogs are going to do this the same. None of them are going to do it different. Unless, like Tony Gold said, they're comfortable with both feet. But this is how they're all going to do it. The end result, so if you look at her, she's drooling, but it's just it's all clear drool. I don't know if I can show that, but you're gonna have to trust me. It's all clear drool. In her mouth, I'm noticing bubbles a little bit. Now the end result is this: you want to be able to take that lure off, put it in your pocket, and get the dog to do the same thing. And this is how you build the mind of the dog. Oh, also remember this end piece is so that I have control. I can pull it when I want to. So I'm gonna pull this all the way up. As you can see, there's nothing. It's just this, okay? She's gonna do the same thing because that's what your purpose drive is for in a dog. Go, girl. Good girl. And that's with no lure. Good girl. Good girl. So it's not about the lure. And just to show you to the extreme of what I'm talking about, I'm gonna grab a shovel and I'm gonna do the same thing. And this is what the flirt pole is about building. So that the dog knows that we're not being tricked into conditioning. We're conditioning. As you can see, this is a shovel. Hey, ignore that. Come on. Come on. She wants her flirt pole. She's like, fuck that shovel. Come here. Come on. Come on. Let's go, girl. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. Now, she does not want to play right now with no damn shovel. Good girl. But as you can see, it still has her attention. Good girl. And that's the thing. If I hadn't have done the spring pole flirt first, I could have brought the shovel out and shoot around in circles, just chasing just chasing the shovel. But that's what it's all about. So again, learn to work your flirt pole like a cat meal. You want to just be going in a circle and keep that dog, keep the lure at head height. As long as you keep that lure at head height, that dog is looking up rather than on the ground. On the ground is that's what fetch is for. You know what I mean? But keep that lure at head height so that the dog has its head up while it's running and is simulating chasing a medium-sized animal. And then keep it going. And the better you get with it, the more you'll understand the timing of your dog, and the harder it's going to be for the dog to get it from you. Especially if you start off with the wiffle ball because you're tiring them out. Andrea Klaus said, "What's a cat meal? A cat meal, CATMILL, is what a lot of the dog fighters used to do, and also people who are hunting dogs, especially if they were doing catch work, or just hunting dogs, period. And they need their dogs in shape. But it got popular with the fighters for some reason, but all dog men used to do it. But what they would do is they would take what do they call them, guineas, and so you'd have a pole sticking up out the middle of the ground. Then you'd have a pole going out from the side of that pole, or out from at the top of that pole, going across. And you'd have a cat in a cage on one pole. Then you'd have your dog on the next pole, chained to that pole, and it will force the dog to run in a circle because he's constantly trying to get that cat. And just like you saw me doing with the flirt pole, what you wanted to do with the cat meal was to start the cat inside the cage so the dog would chase it in a circle. So, in trying to get a hold of it. She said, "Oh, I don't know dog fighting terms. It's not a dog fighting term. It's a dog term." But so the dog would chase the cat meal eventually because the cat was in it. Eventually, you wanted to get to the point where you could take the cat out and run the dog with an empty cage. You have some dog men that learn the track of their dog on a cat meal, and they start to make, little, they'll start to dig so that they've got spots where it goes up, where it goes down, so the dog's running uphill, different things like that. But and actually, Andrea, you know more dog fighting terms than you realize you do. You just don't know that they're dog fighting terms. But it's a cat meal is not. Cardi, cut it out, girl. Calm down. As soon as I'm done, I will work it again. But a dog fighters, hunters, anybody that wanted to keep their dogs in shape, greyhound people, they do the same thing for racing. Is they would use a cat meal so that the dog would run in circles, chasing the cat meal. But again, the end result is to get the dog purpose driven, not prey driven, so that you can take the cat out. So that's why you saw me work the flirt pole. She does the same thing whether I have a lure on there or not. And that's what you are looking for with your dog. So again, start off with something simple, boring, like a wiffle ball. That way you can tire the dog out and get your timing down on point. Move to something that you know they're going to go after, something fluffy, something soft that they like to bite and get a hold of. Always, before you do any of this, start teaching your dog to release on command, like you saw I had to do with her. Cut it out. Um, and then when you're done and you with their favorite toy, then that's when you switch and you don't use a lure at all, because now you want to build that purpose drive, and that's when you want to encourage them. Here's the thing, though. Do not let your dog quit. Make sure that you quit before your dog does. When you see them getting tired, you see them losing interest. Now, Cardi, she's pretty tough. She's not gonna quit. Floyd he'll drop dead before you. If I wanted to put him down right now, I could bring him out here, wait till it hit about 90 degrees, start doing the flirt pole, fetch, whatever I want. As long as I don't stop, he's not gonna stop. He'll just drop dead. But you want to make sure that you stop before the dog stops so that you are constantly building the drive in the dog. And I would say those are the main four things. Work your flirt pole like a cat meal, not flipping and flopping it around like you see people doing a lot. I don't know when that started. I didn't notice that people doing that until probably around 2000, maybe 19, maybe mid to late 90s. But prior to that, early 90s, 80s, 70s, you work the flirt pole like a cat meal. Um, Also, remember, pay attention to the drool. That is the most important thing, regardless of what type of conditioning you're doing. Um, if the dog is panting, you are exercising. The minute the dog starts drooling, you are conditioning. Clear drool is good. When you see foamy drool, the dog is overheating, and you need to stop and give the dog time to recover. If you want to turn it into a session, then you're going to need to give that dog 5 to 10 minutes and keep track of how long it takes for your dogs to recover. That should be part of your breeding program. Dogs that recover quickly, if you want 500-pound dogs on short limbs, then breed 500-pound dogs on short limbs that recover quicker than the last 500-pound dog on short limbs that you had. And this is how we make our programs better, by charting these things, looking at what we're getting out of our dogs, keeping track of what this dog did compared to that dog. And that's how we make our programs better. Everybody talks about bettering the breed. That's how you better the breed. That's how. It's not just the colors and the structure and all this stuff. You guys are breeding for structure, but then you're breeding in allergies. That's not bettering the breed. You got people breeding to breed out allergies, but then they've got messed up temperaments. That's not bettering the breed. So keep track of what your dogs do function wise. When people say my dog is fully functional, keep track of what your dogs do functional wise so that you can keep track, so that you can go from breeding to breeding and get better and better. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say in this, because I got a lot of people hitting me up and it was just impossible to type it out. So again, just to go over, you will see me pushing my dogs. I'm going to start doing more conditioning. I actually used to kind of try to make a living off of conditioning people's dogs. My dream was to get into greyhound racing and horse racing. I just never dibble dabble with the greyhounds, but I never got to get into conditioning horses at all. But definitely remember, one, stop it with the 5 foot flirt poles. I use those on Jack Russells and Beagles and puppies. Get you a 10 foot flirt pole, PVC pipe, run a cord through there, and just like I showed earlier, and start using that for these big dogs. Second, remember, when you're working your flirt pole, work it like a cat meal. You want to get the dog to run in circles. If your dog is right-footed, count clockwise, it will make the dog run in a circle. Counterclockwise will cause the dog to start cutting it off and run at an angle. Left-footed dog is going to be the opposite. What's up, Gary? Thanks for joining in, brother. That is Gary Moore, the founder of Greyline. Much respect to that man. He's one of the only cats that I in this game that I will call OG. I don't throw that word out there for a lot of people, but plus he's from Hub City, so I go ahead and I give him that love just based off of location. He knows what I'm talking about. But they stick to the old school methods when it comes to conditioning these dogs. Don't water down what it is we doing out here, and that way we will get better dogs. So last but not least, the drool. Pay attention to it. Do not overheat your dog. When you notice foamy drool, it's time to stop. You have to cut it out at that point, and it's gonna take your dog 5 to 10 minutes. There's nothing wrong with giving them 10 minutes. Don't push these dogs too much. You don't want to start conditioning until one, you've been walking your dog on a regular basis, and two, and again, remember, conditioning starts when the drool starts. So until you've been walking your dog on a regular basis long enough for it to start drooling, you don't want to get into heavy conditioning and pushing. You also, with these XLs that a lot of us have, uh, it was difficult for me, but wait till these dogs hit a year before you start really getting into, them running hard, and just keep their diet down. Their genetics will take care of the rest. Keep their intake of food down so that they can stay as lean as possible. Then they hit a year. That's when you can start working them and start building that muscle. Be careful with that though, with these dogs. Otherwise, you will mess up their joints, and that's not something you want to happen. So when it comes to these XLs, give them a year and then get started. Now, if they're pups, you can do a little bit of the flirt pole, but make it easy. Use the flirt pole when they're pups more to teach them to release the bait or the lure or whatever it is you want to call it. And then that way, when they get larger, I wouldn't even play with the flirt pole with her if she wouldn't let it go when I told her to, because it would be a waste of time. So you guys think about that. Again, clear drool, good. Your dog is officially conditioning. Bubbly drool, when you start seeing that, the dog is starting to overheat. It's time to stop. And hopefully you guys are able to take something from this, and talk to y'all in a minute.